Hi, it's Nancy with Gardens Grow, and we're walking in a winter wonderland. This morning is January the 3rd, 2019, and I'm going to put on some more posts from 2018. We're going to be at the end of March in the posts, and the first day of April will be on there. So we'll go from this winter wonderland right into the middle of spring. Let me see what else is on there. Some of it we're going to go back from right before we cleaned out the garden, because I didn't actually I lost those pictures in between times and didn't get them on there, but I decided I wanted to put those on there too, so it'll kind of be some of just the first part of the spring garden clean out, and after it's cleaned out. Hi, it's Nancy with Gardens Grow. Hi, it's Nancy with Us Grow in the Garden. And it's a windy day today, but I'm feeling really good about finally getting a job that I dreaded and dread right down to the very last little bundle of old dead dry stuff that's taken out of the garden. So we've got it done. There are several places that I'll need to go back, and we just kind of started in February, and some of those places we just got the tall stuff and left some spots that I'll have to go back and finish up, but there's not a whole lot of that. We got most all of the dead dry stuff. I'm very tired, very stiff and sore, but I feel like it's a holiday because just getting that done and taking so much stress off. Now that we have them all cleaned out, and my husband is going to do you a little video of how it's looking today. Notice right back here is the Indian coral berry. It's got little red berries on it. This is it had a few last year, but not very many. So this is the first time it's filled out this much for me, and I think it's going to look really nice. This little stand here, I have a little lid or plate I'm going to put on that, and I'll fill it with things for the butterflies, fruit, maybe a little water puddle. We finally got my garden netting stuff around the honeysuckle vine. I'd like to keep it where it'll grow up, because if it grows down it just gets so out of hand. It just grows everywhere and the roots get into everything else. That's a pretty little peony he's got. It's focused on there, or had it on, and it's a beautiful pink when it opens up. Had a couple of friends that came and looked at the garden with me last year, and they both wanted a little start from it. It's so pretty. A lot of this stuff back here has had to be re-glued back together, and I noticed several things. Some of the taller things have already blown back off because we've had some pretty windy days. That Gorilla Glue does excellent, but even it, when the tall things that don't have much of a grasp onto something, usually tipple over for me. Oh, we have some pretty little frilly daffodils blooming here. And these daffodils I've put on already, but they're still looking good for me. Right beside it here, this is a sea holly. I had just one there, and I can see it's proliferated. I don't know how many. That may be a problem child too. We'll have to wait and see. Sometimes they just fill out a good little area and then stop right there, which is a good thing. But if they continue to grow out and choke out other plants, I don't care for plants that do that. They're pretty, but I don't really want them in my garden. If you can't plant there, you just don't belong here. You can see I've got some little heads poking up of a peony there. And these little heads right back here are actually lilies. I had a little clematis, yes, here it is. Tiny little one, but it's coming back. It won't be tiny long. I've heard that all perennials actually, and especially heard it about clematis, that the first year they sleep, and the second year they creep, and the third year they leap. So don't give up. And to tell you the truth, mine took the fourth year before they begin any leaping. This is called a golden carrier bush, and we kind of scalped it, but it was growing out everywhere. It needed a bit to go back a little bit. Look at that tiny little yellow there, and it usually gets up into a pretty little ball, not a big ball, about the size of a jack's ball that you play jacks with, but it's very pretty little round, full golden carrier. And then this row right here has both daylilies and peonies and weeds. This is another area I have to clean up for weeds. This one needs a little more cleanup too. And I tried to keep this from leaking, but I didn't get it quite good enough here. But I did get it some, as you can tell. There is a little bit of water in there, so at least enough for a butterfly to get a drink. This is autumn clematis. Hopefully, and I think it will. Last year it got all the way to the top of this, and I think it will easily again this year. But I really wanted to show it to you when it was just full of billowy white blooms. But last year it bloomed for just a little bit, and it never got really full. So hopefully this year it will do better than that. This over here is my little bog garden, which doesn't look like much now. Hopefully those plants will come back. We had such a dry winter, and I did not get out here and water things in the winter time. But I did start watering in early spring, actually before spring, in February. The water coming, it made a world of difference. This little plant right back here is a bleeding heart, a white bleeding heart. This is the plant that my granddaughter Lily first saw. That she saw a bunch of the plants and she was ready to go in the house, and then she saw this one, and I said, it's called bleeding hearts. And she looked at it. It has beautiful little white hearts trailing all down it with a little drop, a teardrop below it, and she fell in love with plants. And this one here is a little, I think it's pink and white, mostly pink, of course. This over here that'll be up this trellis is a sweet pea. it'll fill out this and then explode all over it. I'll have to come trim it back. These are hardy geraniums coming up under these little fairies here. And they too they'll get way up over, cover the fairies up, and just kind of fall down if I don't keep them trimmed. But sometimes I can't get them all trimmed soon enough. This is my Vinca vine, which looks really terrible right now, but I think it will come out of it and look great. And if it doesn't, I'm going to just take it out and put something else there anyway. It's a little bit too much to take care of. It just always outgrows its bounds there, and I have to dig that up. So maybe I can find something a little easier to do. This is another clematis. When it fills this out and full of bloom, it'll be pretty. Hopefully I'll get to show you that after it fills out and blooms. Oh gosh, it looks like this little thing over here has fallen over again on me. I guess the wind, or maybe redo that if it's here. But it's gone for the day. But hopefully we'll be able to set that back up, because it is a very pretty little 3-tier plant when you get it full of planters when you get it full of plants. I did put my little girl back out on her little water. I guess it's what you would call the bottom part of the fountain, but I really like her. I guess that's about it for today. I think I'm just too tired to be very excited about doing this, but at the same time I am excited that we've got it all cleaned out. It does look good. It does have a wonderful fresh start. And we actually went to Janie's today, our garden center, and picked out some spring flowers. Just a few. I haven't got really into it yet, but I just had to be sure to get them before. These that he's pointing out now is pussy willow. These are the pretty soft, fuzzy catkins from the pussy willow, which a lot of people break these off and put them in arrangements. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for today. We'll see you soon. I'm going to take you back to when the garden wasn't cleaned out quite yet, to one that I neglected to put on earlier. Hi, it's Nancy. I just wanted to come out and do another little video for you of spring. Spring is here. This is mine and my daddy's favorite time of the year. It really does feel like this is when the year really begins. It's when everything begins anew in the garden. And I start feeling a little bit new myself, except for my knee, of course, that's giving me even more trouble than ever, simply because I've been working, kneeling on it in the garden. But there's so much going on. This little bed of iris I cleaned out last fall, which is when I need to do them all, because even though it's still individual clip, it's so much easier than it is to try to get all the old dead stalks that are dry in amongst the green, and it's just such a mess to clean out. Of course, I've already told you that cleaning out the garden is the worst job for me. It's so hard and so physical and so much that it's just too hard. But we managed to get it done somewhat. But I was going to say, this little bear is going to have to go back inside and get out of her nap time, and I've certainly had to get out of mine, and actually now that spring is here and I'm seeing pretty things come up in the garden, I look forward to getting up and getting out here and seeing what's going on. Just look at this little peony. Look right there at the very top. See that bud? Pretty soon we'll have a peony bloom. It'll still be a little while, but it won't be that long. Some of these I'm going to have to get back out and get. I didn't get these right back here. You can see all that dead strappy leaves in there. I've got to get that out. I've actually been listening to some of the YouTube channels for gardening, and they're very interesting. That's where I learned that is where the bugs that get in the iris and take them out, that's when they lay their eggs, is on these, I guess it's in the fall, or anyway they lay them on that, and that's where that brown is. It needs to be taken out of there because there could very possibly be eggs in there that will form the bugs that will destroy your irises. Irises are, like I said, one of the hardest things for me to clean out. They don't last very long, but oh, that bloom when it does come on is so wonderful and so worth it. This little quincy's been bedded out for quite some time, but it will turn into blooms. You can see a few of them there anyway. It's already become blooms, but it will bloom totally fully out, and we'll have to get you some more pictures. It's really fun to share your garden. Gardens are for sharing. I think that's why the Lord made them, to where you can, in one of my little garden wisdom bits on my website, I put dividing a plant makes it a flower you can give and still keep. And that's exactly what it does. Because you can have two. A plant gets a certain size and it stops growing. But when you cut that plant in two and divide it, each one will go back and get to that same size. You can divide it in two or divide it in four, and each one of them will end up being that same size by the end of the growing season. Of course, I'm sure maybe some of the bushes and things might take a little longer, but they will all eventually get to that size. And if you want to keep them going, if you hear, I have just a picture of it when it was just budded out on my Facebook business page, but now it's already blooming. We had some pretty high winds the other day, well, day before yesterday and yesterday, most of the morning, and it blew off a bunch of stuff, a bunch of my garden art things. I had to come back out and re-glue them back on their little stand. This was one of them. It's tall, and whenever it just doesn't have much of a chance of staying up there in our winds that we get in Oklahoma. Matter of fact, our town of Weatherford was once made the national news because it was the windiest city in the nation. So Chicago doesn't have anything on us, at least not in the way of wind. But I've already shown you a bunch of this. You can just see how much the sedum, how it has grown since I showed you just the little rosettes last time, and now we've got they're out of their rosette stage and becoming sedum. This will fill out and overflow and just make a perfect little front border for my pots of hostas. And as I told you before, I tried to find some of these little heads poking up, and I couldn't the last time, but now I can. There's you some. Go back to the pot behind it. There. There's little ones just poking up everywhere. Here's some right here. Poking their little heads up. So the hostas are beginning to show, and it's just so much to do in the garden, and so much beauty and so much change. It changes so fast. When I take a picture, I turn this thing the other way and get my close-ups, some of them, but I've learned, and I still forget though, and turn it for the videos too, but it does not work on the videos. But these are even pretty just without anything in them. But if you've looked anywhere on the on the YouTube channel, you'll see that I've already put one of our garden nurseries, and it's called Janie's Garden Center. Oh, look down here. We've even got lilies coming up. But it's called, the one I put on is called Janie's Garden Center. You should actually take a look at it if you get a chance, because it's just, she has such a beautiful nursery. But I know unless you live close to our nursery, you may not want to look at it because you'll want stuff. I already picked out several that I wanted. I didn't go ahead and purchase them yet, but I picked them out, and I hope they'll still be there when I get ready to purchase them. This little succulent plant, I was afraid it wasn't going to come back. It looks so terrible. It still doesn't look so good, but it's definitely coming back. Fruit trees are blooming out. And you can probably notice too that we've cleaned out this little strip. We ended up cleaning out all around the edges, but I still lack that middle part there. So there's still a lot to do before it's all cleaned out. You see the sedum coming up in this little pot back here too. And there's some tiny little sedum of some kind down here in this pot coming up. I like to put the sedums in the pots that I don't get the water around to quite as well as I do some of the other ones, so that it has a better chance of, look at this peony coming up here. And we go around here, and we've cleaned out all of this fence row all the way up there, and then by the back fence we've cleaned it out sort of, but I still need to get back there and do some more iris clipping and some weeds and grass that's coming up back there. This is my seed ball, or where I usually start seed. As you can tell, I haven't started any yet, but we ended up, for one thing, having the flu after we'd already had a cold for a month, and then the next month we got the flu. So we've been fighting, and actually then after that I got an ear infection, a double ear infection, both ears, and they were draining and just hurting, but then the pain went away, and I'm still not hearing real well. It feels still like I have earplugs in, but it doesn't hurt anymore. It's just frustrating, like trying to pop your ears and having earplugs in for over a month. This little plant right here that I'm focusing in on is just a clematis, but it's fixing to take off and go up that pole, or up that trellis. There's just so much to do in the garden. These little birds over here are enjoying the birdseed that I put out for them. That finally got out. I just got through gluing this little pole back on this little garden art here. Isn't she pretty? Just a garden fairy. Look at this Look at this clematis vine. It's already up the trellis and will soon be filling out. That's my one called the President. There's my daffodils. Always a cherry sign of spring. Another clematis beginning its little start up or trek up the trellis. Sounds like the birds are going to get in on this little video too and tell you probably more about it than I could. Bunch of empty pots, that's what I see. A bunch of work to still be done, but it will be fun doing that work. It totally will. Look at this clematis reaching up. When it gets a little bit bigger, I'll give it a hand with a string or something to get it over there onto its trellis where it can get a good start. And those pretty little hyacinths there. There's another one, a pink one over here on this side. And just so much. Sometimes it absolutely gets overwhelming, but I just don't see a place I can cut back. And especially, I just got through looking through catalogs, and oh, look at this. This is a bleeding heart. I think that's the red or pink. And then there'll be another one showing up over here. I'm hoping it usually does. There'll be a big, beautiful white one. This, as you can tell, is the area I have not got cleaned out yet all the way up to the front there of this. But I did get it cleaned out around my hellebores, which are blooming beautifully. Which I'm sure you may already be tired of seeing those because I've already put them on several times. They were the first plant for me to come out. And then followed by the hyacinths and the beautiful cythias that I had there in the front, which I showed you when we first started the video. My husband put those there for me years ago. This is another area I have got to take care of. It's got vinca vine in it. It needs clipping back. For some reason it's dying it had died on top. I don't know if that was the hot summer or the going through the winter, but we'll clip it back and it'll come back because it grows all the way out. It's beginning to be a problem child because it grows out of its strawberry pyramid pot. I had strawberries in there at one time and I put a few vinca in there with it, which was not a good idea because the vinca took over. But when it does have those pretty little lavender blue blooms on it in the spring, it makes it hard to pull it all out of there. It's so pretty. But I think I could get something just as pretty or prettier that wouldn't be quite a problem, such a problem to deal with. Here's another little grouping of pretty spring bulbs there. Got the tete-a-tete daffodil and the pink hyacinth. This is another one of my favorite little garden fairies. I call her my depicting innocence angel. Isn't she pretty? And her little pot will need filling out too. I'm not sure what I'm going to put in a bunch of I did though look through my catalogs as I started to say a while ago. It just made me want more. And I do have places for more, so it would be nice to get them in there. Sometimes when you're old as I am, you think about, well, should I go ahead and and put in things that I won't get to enjoy very long, or should I? I think I should, though, because I think I should enjoy it as long as I can. That's my thought on it. But I'd like to get this filled in and pretty, but honestly, when spring gets here or when summer gets here and it gets its full growth, it's not bare anymore. You have to come out here. I have to come out here and clip back some of the things, like the hardy geraniums. They just keep going and going and get so tall and flop over. And look at this flowering quincy back here. It's blooming. What a pretty bloom. But anyway, that's where we are on our gardening cleanup. As you can tell, we truly have got a lot done. I feel so good about what all we've got done. Like I said, it just makes me want to get up in the morning and come out and see it. Like when you're out there working and you're so busy, you don't really get to just sit back and look up and realize how pretty it is. But hopefully we'll get it all done. This is my wisteria vine, and it has never, I think it had one bloom on it once. It's just never done well for me, but I'm not giving up on it. My cousin Eileen showed me one of hers, and oh my goodness, it was so beautiful. It was just hanging down all over with big, beautiful wisteria blooms. But I'm really not, I don't have a green thumb like people say I do, because I just keep trying, and I do have a lot. I just have a lot. I wanted to have a big showing because I want to do DVDs and put Christian music on there with it. And it just becomes so beautiful. My first one that I made, I want to give the proceeds after the cost of making the DVD to domestic violence prevention. But so far I haven't sold enough to even begin to pay for the part that I paid to get it done. So there's another peony there I was showing you. And there's daylilies, which I need to clean out still. But just so much to do, and so much just to enjoy. This little pot here got a facelift, and it's brighter and pretty. I can't hardly wait to get plants billowing out of it. This is another clematis right here. It's already up at the top of this little trellis, and there's a little bit down there toward the bottom. So far it hasn't got on the middle part of it yet. If it doesn't, I may need to clip that off and let it start up from the bottom again. I'm still not real sure about those, how you prune the clematis, because it's just different for each group, and I forget which group they're in or how that group is supposed to be trimmed. So that's just, it's all a learning process, and when you're so busy with it, sometimes you just learn by experience. This is a trumpet vine. Right now it hasn't begun to come out. You can see there's a clematis going up, and I'm hoping to get a pretty purple clematis going up this beautiful orange trumpet vine. I don't know if you can see that bird in there. He's probably going to fly away. But anyway, I know the trumpet vines are a pain. They just come up everywhere. They're so invasive, but they're so beautiful, and they draw hummingbirds. Hummingbirds absolutely love the trumpet vines. Here's another lily coming up right here. turn it again. This is a pretty little angel that I had her in the church, but I guess they decided they want to do something a little different, so they gave her back to me. How nice. I didn't ever think about getting it back. I never thought about, it's theirs, but since they gave it to me and thought it was mine, I just couldn't resist taking it. This right here is a flowering almond, which is just little buds right now, but they will be opening up, and this will be a little flurry of pink, baby soft pink. You won't miss it when we come out and it's in bloom. You'll just absolutely love it. This is another little angel that I got put back up, and my brother painted her for me, and I kind of touched her up just a little bit on her face and put her back out here, and he did so much for me. Such a wonderful brother. I would say he'll never know, but he does know, because he's in heaven, and in heaven we'll know even as we are known. We'll know all those things about each other, and we'll understand what everybody went through, and we'll just be so happy and lucky to be there. And I'll get to see him again, and that to me will be wonderful. So much to fill up, but oh, how pretty it will be when we get it full, get it going. You can actually see the little garden art better now, because sometimes when the flowers get going, it will absolutely cover those little ornamental things right up. That's one reason I try to get the pot stands, and I use them for my decor to put. Let me see if I can find you one, which you probably already have seen, that I did a video earlier and it kind of went off right in the middle of something, so I thought I would come back and just finish this one up a little bit for you. So when I left off the last time, I was fixing to come right across over here. And I'm saying fixing to. That's what my niece and I say, and probably a lot more people. But I was fixing to come over here and show you these little plant stands that I use. I use them for a lot of my garden decor, to put them in there. I always, well, not always, but lots of times, I definitely like to use garden art as part of my pots. And this one is glued on. I Gorilla Glue these on a lot, because when I water them, if they're light and I'm watering, they just tipple over, and I'm always having to pick them up and put them back up. But if I use Gorilla Glue on them, they stay for a long time. It just depending on the winds we have and how long they've been had time to dry good, and just certain things like that. And also, just like you can see this one I use it because sometimes the flowers along the bottom of it will actually grow up and over the pot that's at the top there, and you want to be able to see what's in the pot too. The ground cover down below there won't do that, of course, but this one right here beside it, that's a tall phlox, which is a very beautiful plant, and I want it there, but I don't necessarily want it to cover up everything that will be in this little pot, which I don't know what I'm going to put in there, but looky there, there's already something coming up in there. Those, I don't know, they look like they might be larkspur. But as you can see, this one I've got it raised up from the ground just a little with a pot stand, and then I've got both of these up on pot stands so that they're a little higher than the plants that will be in there, so they'll still be seen even after the plant grows up to its full. Oh, I forgot and turned that too, didn't I? I've got to get used to not turning this for for the movie, because I turn it all the time for my pictures. When I'm taking pictures, that's one of my favorite things to do, is turn it where I can just really get it framed in, get a picture framed in like I want it. But anyway, that's the most of the thing I can remember what I was going to tell you. And then I can't remember if I had showed you on that particular video clip that we had cattails, which now I've got them cut off. So, but you can see they're coming back. You can see the little green coming back on the cattails. I kind of want to move this pot too, because the cattails grow up and get in the Rose of Sharon, and you don't see them unless you know they're there and you just really zone into them, or you get surprised by looking at them and saying, "Oh look, there's cattails up there." But and then I think I didn't put on the pussy willow tree that's around here, but my husband actually got that for me the other day when we were doing a little video clip. So I'll go around there and put it back on this one, just general purposes, because I guess that I'm still excited about getting stuff cleaned out. You can see the last time I showed you this, it looked horrible, but now it's looking clean and ready to be either planted in or have. There's another one of the plant stands and how I use those. And this way whatever I plant right in here will grow up tall, and if it grows up too tall, it would cover up this little decor. But this way it's going to have to grow pretty tall before it covers that up. But my little 3-tiered pot fell down. I've got to redo that. This is just another example of what you can do with Gorilla Glue. And actually this one, I have to take that back. This one is foam filler. When the Gorilla Glue won't do, just get the foam filler out and let it dry on there, and it'll shapen them up for you. Which reminds me of my little nephew. Here's the pussy willow, the pretty little fuzzy catkins, and then back there you can see they're already blooming. It reminds me of my nephew when he was probably 3, and he and I went out to an old dump site, or what people had used for one, and there was something there, a flat piece of metal that looked about like this little thing that I was feeding birds in, the ones that eat the ground feeders. And he said, "Look, we better take this back home to Papa." And I said, "Well, what is it?" He said, "It's a truck." And so I looked really close, and sure enough, I could tell that it had once upon a time been a truck. So I said, "Well, I think we better leave that one here, because I think it's too far gone." And he said, "Oh no, Grandpa can shapen it right up." So we took it back and gave it to him, and he got a big twinkle in his eye, and he put it up on his workbench. So if he hadn't have been sick and passed away, he probably would have somehow fixed that back up for Shane. But anyway, life has some moments, thank God, that has some wonderful moments too, and some that you don't know if you're going to get through, but thankfully the Lord gets you through it. I was telling our pastor's wife today that I noticed that her husband would forget a word every now and then, and I'm thinking, that's what I do, as you can tell on this DVD. I do that all the time. I'll try to think of a word, and it will be a totally simple little word, but it just escapes me. I know it's up there somewhere, and I know what it is, but it's not coming. If somebody doesn't give me a little hint or blurt it out for me. This is a Brunnera plant, and it has those pretty little blue blooms on it that look kind of like forget-me-nots. It's very pretty. I love that color of a blue in the garden. But I was telling her that I do that, and not only do I do that as, you know, a more senior person, but I've always been a little rattled. I will sometimes start to tell you one thing, get sidetracked on another part of the story that I think maybe adds to the story I was beginning to tell, and I may or may not ever get back to that story I was beginning to tell. But I guess we just have to realize that's part of life. I wish I could still have the, you know, youth and agility, whatever, that I used to have, but it's okay, because I'm grateful for all the health that I do have, grateful for the love of family, all the wonderful things that the Lord has given me. So grateful for them. He's so good to all of us. I'll get you on another story, but I was watching Hope Floats. I love that little movie, and I saw it on a DVD, and you know, they're cheap now, because I'm assuming they're going the way of all the earth, like the rest of us old things. But it's such a wonderful movie. I know it's just a little romance story. It looks like it wouldn't be much, and got several songs on there. They're all cute, but you wouldn't think about them having as much meaning as they actually end up having. It's such a wonderful story, and I think I like it because I can relate to it so much. My mother and I struggled with our relationship all of my life. My daddy and I, on the other hand, he's my rock. He's still my rock. He's always been my rock. He always will be my rock. I love him. He's well, not that I don't love my mother, that she doesn't love me. And in that story, you see how she loved her dad, and then how she lost him to Alzheimer's before she actually lost him. But they have their moments in that movie, and then her mother and her have such a wonderful moment in that movie too. Well, several, but one in particularly. And just the fact that she said she used to think she was special, but she's not, and that's okay, because you make me special, she said to her little girl. And sometimes I think I'm special because, you know, I'm very favored of my Father. I know it. And he allowed me to have that kind of attitude toward my Heavenly Father. I've heard many times that a girl's the way she sees a relationship with God is kind of the way she had a relationship with her father, and that so many girls that didn't have a good relationship with their father have a hard time realizing the love of God. Honestly, I can't realize the love of God either, because I can't see any love greater than that my daddy gave me. His was just such a most wonderful, I can't even describe it, but you know, if you've got somebody who loves you that way, or who you love that way, you know that there's something there that makes you continue on, that makes you get up and go when you don't have strength to get up and go sometimes, or do what you don't feel like you can do. But you just have that special time, and it's just that we are all special to God. We're so special to Him, and He does love each and every one of us, and we just have to find a way to know it. And I was lucky enough to have my dad as an example of the Lord Jesus Christ Himself, to show me what a wonderful relationship, a wonderful love, and how much it can change your life and make you someone special. Because when somebody loves you, it changes you. It changes you and gives you the ability to love and to let yourself be loved. But anyway, that's my sermon for the day.